Welcome back to WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I am positively headed to my first National Football League game this week, and times are strange. People are moving about, and I haven't been to Essex in like 2 weeks. I haven't been to Pizza John's. I have my cup here because they give me a collection, and I still got to get down to Blondell Miller Schuler and get some swag. You know, Leonard Raskin gives me his shirts. I got room on my head. I got a Baltimore Positive thing on, Todd. I mean, I got room for a hat here. At some point, I'll get over there. How you guys holding up in Essex, man? It's been strange times, and I think for every person I have Zoomed with this week, there has been a kid issue, an education issue, a work issue. We're all like sort of getting back into what's supposed to be normal after Labor Day, right? Even though it doesn't feel normal. It feels normal when the Ravens beat the Browns, though.
It did feel really normal there. And, you know, my beautiful bride is from Cleveland, Ohio, and my 10-year-old son, he goes to school. He's at school live, but, he gets abused when the I feel bad. I feel like my wife's got him alienated, but he picked his poison and he decided he was going to be a Browns fan. I told him it was going to be a long life, but that's on him.
He picked the Browns?
He did. I mean, my wife and her family are dedicated. She's got two brothers, and two brothers-in-law that, lean in on him. His grandmother out there is a huge Cleveland Browns fan.
Does he know he lives in Baltimore? Have you told him that?
When we were maybe going to live in Cleveland or maybe going to live in Baltimore and the football issue came up.
Well, you chose wisely there. So
yeah, I got away with that. But it was going to be clear from the beginning that my son was going to pick the contrarian team. Like if we lived in Cleveland, he'd be a Ravens fan.
Is his father a lawyer?
His father's kind of a lawyer and kind of a bit of a contrarian, So, chip off the old block. He's gonna take on all comers at school and watch the Browns lose for the rest of his life and still go down talking trash. So.
Yeah, I mean, at some point. I mean, Johnny football didn't work out. And, I had Dave Zastudel on, right, this week. And, of course, Dave's the interesting Cleveland guy, right? He's a Cleveland boy, quarterback, became a punter, did the whole, comes to Baltimore. And he and I were fast friends because Kyle Richardson and I were fast friends before that. And the late, great Greg Montgomery, who left us 2 weeks ago, who was a friend of mine. And I'm trying to come to grips with losing Greg. But so Zastudel comes to Baltimore, whatever it was, 02, 3, 4, 5, whenever it was. Zahner convinces the brass to draft him, and he comes in. And I got him out to the barn the first night, and I started in on him about being from Cleveland. He's like, man, my brothers, my parents, my uncles, my aunt, literally every single person in my family hated Art Modell, hates the concept of the Baltimore Ravens, and I got drafted by the Ravens, So
Yeah.
He punted here for a couple of years. He signed out in Cleveland to go home. Then he played in Arizona. He actually played with Calais Campbell. And
Did he really?
told a story. Yeah, he played with Calais Campbell when Calais was young. So but he was the broadcaster for the Browns the last couple of years. He's not broadcasting this year because all of his kids are playing football and playing sports, right? So he's of that age now. But on his desk, on the Zoom, he had the Browns helmet, the Ravens helmet, and he was holding up the Ravens helmet. And he's like, I'm the only guy in Ohio, that has like a Ravens helmet. So there really is a lot of heat, right, in that.
Yeah, he went to school
my buddy
with
Greg
a lot of
Zapaniak.
What's that now?
My buddy Greg Zapaniak, he married a Browns fan. Like, you're not the only one. I don't – that's weird, these Cleveland women
transplant. Their passion is unwavering. I mean, they really are. If you think you have made a career out of sort of poking at the softness of the Baltimore sports fan and the emptiness of the, of the ballpark and, the sort of fair weather nature. And you watch the Ravens go 4-4 – and there's nobody, it's over. But the Browns have been losing for 25 years, and on Christmas Day, it feels like the stadium's packed, and they're crazy. And they think they're going to beat us. I mean, that's the best part. Like, they're talking trash. I'm coming into town for Christmas, and they're loaded up talking trash at 1-14.
I'm familiar, dude. I've made every trip. I mean, I've missed 2 Cincinnati trips over 24 years. I've never missed a Cleveland game in Cleveland. Like, literally, like, last year. No, I've never missed a Cleveland. I go to Cleveland every year. I don't know why. I just do. It's easy. It's in and out, and it's downtown, and I sort of like it. You know what I mean? I don't tell anybody, right? But I like it. And There's a guy. I have the same seat in the press box, and it's a decent seat in Cleveland. It's right above the club level, unlike Houston, where I'm going to be sitting on the edge of the moon, looking straight down on Sunday for no one. But in Cleveland, the same people sit in the seats for 20 years,
right?
And there's a group of guys that sit right in front of me in the press box. And and I've watched them age. I watched them go from having dark hair to silver hair, like literally. And I see their jerseys, and they turn around and look at me because Ozzy's behind me usually. Like Ozzy sits right up here, and Eric sits right behind me.
The ultimate trader.
So they're not looking at me; they're looking at Ozzy, but they're looking at me, and because Ozzy's always right behind me, and they beat on the glass, and. I mean, we've won, 20 out of 23 times? However many times we've gone in there, we win all the time. But it leads me back to this. And football and normalcy and 1 o'clock Sunday, and it wasn't normal for me in that I was in bed with my cat tweeting, and my wife's in the front, and I was in the back. And we're usually in the upper deck hugging and high-fiving and doing all that. I don't know that I'm ever going to get used to this, but I know that the Ravens are going to have a hard time getting money back from people once they stay home for a year. Like I can see why sports wants to get people out, because the thing is made for me to sit in bed with my cat and watch it. It really is.
I'm a one Ravens game a year at the stadium guy, and usually I dread it. Usually it's somebody's invited me and I'm going along and I'm excited to say yes, but I love my fireplace. Like for me, this is normal. Like I don't go to the games. I like to. I love the flavor and the atmosphere.
Well, if you went with me, you'd like it. No,
it's just a different experience. And frankly, like if you can get some oysters and meet out at halftime with some neighbors and slurp some oysters and get back in front of your fireplace, and like you can have the same social tailgate experience. Not the same, of course, but it can be a lot more chill. And then you don't have to worry about getting out of there. Like getting in and getting out always feel like a problem. I feel like if I live downtown, or if I got a hotel room, it's a different animal. But I don't, I'm not messing with driving after a Ravens game, even if you've been behaving, how many people around you have, and
Well, that's another issue that like I've been used to doing it the way I've done it, and I called it church, right? Like everybody's in the same seat every Sunday for years and years and years, and then it got fractured, right, between the Flacco Super Bowl and the knee in London. Somewhere in there, the people whose hair is getting silver who've done it were not replaced by younger people and or people like you who have the financial means to maybe do it, or the fandom that you would be inclined to do it, but you're just used to doing it a different way, and that's the way you've always done it. The way I've always done it is to go. Now I'm doing it in a different way, and the notion that I saved $250 over the weekend.
Well, I forgot about that. I mean, if you get a free ticket, it's still a couple $100 day, right? If you go with a kid or a spouse or something like that, and by the time you prep the tailgater and ice down the cooler,
pay
and
for the parking,
grill, pay for the parking, light rail or Uber or what, there's a lot of expense even on a free ticket in a situation like that.
Well, not for now, but we're not going now, and we're watching, and we got the best football team, right? But more than anything, and I guess we'll have this chance against Kansas City next week, but from a sports guy's perspective that hasn't had much sports lately, to be able to just dive into this, and all aspects of this are weird, right? Like, I'm not there. I'm not talking to the players. That's weird for me. Nobody's there. That's weird for you. The fact that they're so good, and they're going to be so good, and we don't even know that there's going to be an end to the story, right? Like that they're really going to finish the season, or whether anybody's going to be allowed to go to the Super Bowl. But no preseason, no practices, no nothing. And then Lamar shows up, and it's 38-6, and we're screaming, get him out of there in the third quarter, right? This sets up to be some soap opera aside from the election itself, or how do we get our kids to school, or how do we keep our jobs and feed ourselves. But if we are looking for the opiate for the masses, I think the Ravens are going to deliver that for the next couple of months, at least for us here locally. It's going to feel somewhat normal around your office on a Friday when people are wearing purple, because we're about to go into that. And psychologically, the last 6 months didn't feel like a ramp up to that. It just feels like, boom, it appeared, right?
No, it does feel cathartic. And to the extent that you're right, I don't know if we have the best team in football. I'm just not smart enough to know or break it down. And
let me believe it for now. It's a plague. Let me believe.
It's going to be close. I mean, they're going to be in the mix. And for if and this is the terror, but we had the Titans last year and the San Diego game the year before. If we have Lamar a third year and it's coronavirus that ends the season, or some other fluke, if we go on this 4 or 5 year run of Lamar and can't crack through, we got to get a championship out of this. If it's not this year, it's got to be in the next 2 or 3. I mean,
so you're starting to sound like a real fan now. Like now you're Super Bowl or bust is where you are.
I'm
right?
Super Bowl or bust.
That's where we are.
Think about the contrast of where we are with the Orioles. Like with the Orioles, it's like, I hope they stay in town, and I hope we're good in 5 years. What kind of window do you have? I mean, you don't have a Lamar window. Once you start paying Lamar, you're obviously going to have a little less talent around him, right? So,
well, we've talked about that at length because there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of Ronnie Stanley and a lot of Marlon Humphrey and a lot of Matt Jr. They're not going to be able to keep everybody. Obviously, Lamar's in line in front of everybody. Mark Andrews, I mean, all these guys, much like our 13 and our 0-1 teams, guys are going to get paid. And that's something the Patriots and the Eagles and everybody else had to live with the last couple of years.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a brief enough window. You completely stub your toe against Tennessee on that, amazing season where you rip off whatever it was, 12 wins in a row. And now we've got this looming threat of like non-football related stuff that could keep you away from the next one. And then how many more legitimate bites within this window and this core of guys do you have? 2 maybe after this year? It's a 3-year win. You could have Lamar for 10 years and it could be a Tom Brady scenario where, you're always in the mix with a fresh batch or whatever. And certainly the Ravens front office is kind of proven that that's possible. They seem to make good decisions over the long term, but God, who knows? Like I feel a sense of urgency. I can tell you that. I'm nervous.
Todd Schuler is here. It is Blondell Miller Schuler, and our weekly report when we get together. We don't talk a whole lot about the law, but we do talk a lot about Essex and Essex people and people getting back and moving around. And for your line of work and movement and well, tell everybody what you do. You give the elevator speech instead of me giving it for you.
So we're a personal injury law firm. I mean, if you were injured in any capacity and there's going to be a negligence element to it or a work element to it, we're going to be that's going to be the kind of stuff we do. So car crashes, construction accidents, motorcycle accidents, boat accidents, workers' comp. We do a significant amount of workers' comp. And most importantly, I think what people don't understand in these cases, it's very easy in my industry to not go to court. I mean, you're going to get a settlement and you're going to get some money in your pocket. But Mark and I aren't afraid to go to court. And that's where you really have the opportunity to maximize your value on these cases. And I think a lot of our colleagues do a very good job, but a lot of them are a little too quick on the trigger to take the early settlement and grab off that low-hanging fruit and not really tee a case up the way it ought to be teed up and put the work in and get to court and stuff like that. So I do believe that that's where we bring value, that some of our colleagues that surround us don't as much.
Well, we talked to you about the damn good lawyer in our ads. Todd Schuler, Mark Miller, my friends at Blondell Miller Schuler down in Eastern Avenue in Essex. I've passed them many, many times en route down to Pizza John, see our friends and see Chad down at Al's Seafood. Well, I'm going to stop by and visit with you at some point in elbow bump and try to stay 6.5 feet away from you at some point during the football season as we get this new website launched. Always great to visit with you. Hanging in with the kids and everything. I mean, sort of the new normal, at least for the time being here. No COVID in Essex so far. I've been washing our hands, staying clean, right?
Everything's good so far. Like I said, my kids are going live. They go to a little Catholic school. Besides my poor son having to get hazed after that Browns loss, I think everybody so far on my end is doing pretty good.
Not too late to get him a Lamar jersey. 8 will look great. I'm telling you right now.
What a shame to miss it, but all his buddies have them, but so be it, He's a
think
brave
if you
would
have been the kid that logged on to like Gorman Thomas instead of like Cal Ripken in 82.
Exactly.
Explain that to the kid, all right? Good having you on. Todd Schuler joining us here. Blondell Miller Schuler there. DamnGoodLawyer.com. You can find him out there, as always, with us here at WNST. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore positive.